You are listening to the Taking Back You podcast, hosted by Dani Carter-Iddens. Taking Back You is a witty, authentic, and sometimes sarcastic show for young mamas who are trying to reclaim themselves while fully entrenched in motherhood. Hello, guys. We are back. Thank you so much for joining me. This week, we are going to talk all about making mommy friends and just like all the, craziness and stressfulness that can come with it. Listen, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I was a new mommy, I kind of freaked out. And okay, let me back up. So the first thing that you should know about me is that I'm incredibly social. I was like one of those people before my son was born. I was one of those people where like I was always a social butterfly. I'm still a social butterfly, but like I was, always in it, always with what everyone else was doing. And I was always, on kind of top of the social scene. When in my sorority, I was the person where, if we were recruiting and someone was like, kind of not feeling it, I was the person they would send in because I could talk to like anything. I could talk to the wall. And like, y'all think I'm kidding, but like legitimately, I could talk to a wall. Like I could turn to the wall and talk to it. So when my son was born, and I found myself like kind of freaking out about like talking to people who were, outside of my house. It was really weird for me because I just felt really alone. I felt like no one else was experiencing what I was experiencing. No one else was given this baby that they have to take care of now, and that like no one else could even like come close to understanding how I felt. And so I went from being this incredibly social person to this person who was like afraid to leave her house. Y'all, I was afraid to go to the grocery store because I like didn't know how I was going to buy food and take care of my baby, and like what if I have to talk to someone? Like it was bad. And so when, my son got to be about 9 months or so, my husband was kind of like, okay, honey, like you need to kind of go out and meet the people and like meet other women who are kind of like in your, stage of life. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't even what? And he said, well, why don't you, go online and see if there's any like mommy groups. So I said, okay, cool. So I went online and I found this MOPS group, which if you haven't heard of that before, it's Mothers of Preschoolers. And it was through the church that a friend of mine has gone to. And it's actually the church that I go to now, but at the time I wasn't going. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess let me send them a message and I'll see how I can sign up. Well, of course, it was, kind of the middle of the school year. So the group was full. And on top of the group being full, this is kind of what they said. They said, well, you could join the group, but you have to find childcare for your kid because we don't have any more space for childcare. Which for someone who I felt like, no one understood how I have to always do all these things and, juggle all these, juggle parenthood. And that was like the worst thing that anyone could say to me because that just like completely scared me off. So I was just like, nope, not doing it, whatever. This is obviously a sign that I'm just not supposed to have mommy friends. So I just kind of said thanks, but no thanks. I don't really have anyone to watch my little guy. And so I just went on about my life. Well, a few months after that, I decided to go to that church for the first time. And I had kind of forgotten about, the whole like MOPS thing, but yeah, whatever. So I started going to the church, and slowly but surely I started taking part in Bible studies at the church. And my very first Bible study, I met some amazing women that I'm still friends with today. And I found myself, and this is a really funny story, and she always laughs whenever I tell it. One day I found myself in the Stracks. And if you are from Northwest Indiana, it's Strack and Van Til. But if you're from Chicago, like I am, we add S's to all of our grocery stores. So this is the Stracks. Now, interesting enough, you don't say like the Strack and Van Tils. That's just weird. You just say the Stracks. I don't know. It's just the way it is. But anywho, so I'm standing in line. I'm trying to get some fried chicken at the deli counter, which I mean, right there is a whole stereotype. But I'm I'm trying to get fried chicken at the deli line. I'm with me and my son for lunch, and a woman from my Bible study that I'm in comes up to me, and she says, "Hey, Dani," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Jen, what's up?" And she's like, "Listen." And okay, let's back up. When someone says like, listen, you're like, oh, they're about to ask me to do something. You can feel it. You know it. You know that it's coming. Well, she says, listen, God has put it on my heart. And I was thinking to myself, oh boy, here we go. God has put it on her heart. What has God put on her heart? And she said, God has put on my heart to ask you if you would like to be a leader in MOPS. And I was like, well, that's interesting because God has not said anything to me about that yet. So, okay, cool. And she said, so yeah, think about it. She goes, I realize you're like, in the chicken line here, but think about it and, let me know what you think. So I said, okay. And she went on, I went on, everybody. I had chicken. It was delicious. If you ever find yourself in Northwest Indiana and you run into a Strax, their chicken, either fried or grilled, is just fantastic. I just side note, complete side note. But anyways, I thought about it and I thought to myself, well, isn't this ironic that the group that I tried to get into like 6 or 7 months ago, is now asking me to be a leader. And then I kind of stopped and I was like, this is a leader of a mom's group. I had one mom friend. And to be honest with you, she was my friend before my son was born. And she just happened to have a baby at the same time as I did. So that was literally like my mom friend. That was how many I had. And so I was very cautious to jump into this because I was like, how am I supposed to lead other mommies when I've been afraid to like talk to other mommies? But, I prayed on it. And I realized that it was something that I needed to do, that maybe because I was so afraid, I just kind of needed to like jump in, like all the way in. So I messaged Jen and I said, what the heck, let's do this. I'm in, I'll be a leader. Now you have to understand, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anyone. I knew exactly no one. So she says, okay, perfect. Well, we're having our end of the year MOPS, celebration for this year because I was going to start being a leader in the fall of the next school year. And she's like, so why don't you come to that and you can meet, some of the crew. So I tell my husband, I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Here's two things. We're going to church on a Friday night. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, and we're going to meet a bunch of people that are in the group that I'm going to be a table leader for in the fall. And he was like, yeah. And so I was like, just smile and nod. So we go and I knew no one. I knew Jen and I think I knew one other person. And that was it. And it was most intimidating. It was horrifying because all these people were moms. And I'm a mom, but I didn't think I was a mom. I just thought I was a mom. You probably know what I mean, but it was very weird. And it was I felt very uncomfortable, but everybody was very gracious. People were nice. They were nice to me and my husband. They wanted to know about us. They were genuinely like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? You're going to be here next year. Cool. Everybody was super nice. So we walked away from that situation feeling good. We were, we weren't afraid, but, and as the months went on, I kind of started to get nervous because I'm like, okay, it got to be about August and they were planning the sign up process and getting everybody, into the next MOPS group. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get a table full of women that I have never met and that I am not really like sure about because I'm not really sure about myself. So luckily there were like 2 people at my table that I did know from before, but other than that, I knew no one and I was their leader. Like what? And so, I introduced myself to the table, and I will tell you this, I am friends with every single person at that table still today. So, I mean, the story ends well, but it was really nerve-wracking coming into there. And so Jen kind of felt my trepidation. And so she said, how about this? How about you share the responsibilities with another woman at your table who has been a leader before, but listen, she's going to nursing school next semester. So she's gonna be kind of in and out once we get to January, but it'll give you a chance to get in. And I said, okay, cool, let's do this. So of course, Christine, who I worked with, she's lovely, absolutely lovely. I love her. And her family and her children are just the cutest. Like her daughter is so stinking cute. It's like out of control. But anyways, so we kind of did this together. And then she went to nursing school. P.S. She's graduated. She's like top of her class. She was amazing. Wonderful. But like I was like on my own. And can I tell you something? The group didn't really gel. It was like my worst nightmare come true. We just did not, everybody, like I said, and this is what's weird. I'm friends with every single person still in that group, but the group, like just as a whole, did not gel. So it made me really like, self-conscious because I'm like, oh my gosh, this was my group and they're not like blah, blah, blah. And it just wasn't working. And like, we loved each other, we enjoyed each other, but it just wasn't working. So it really scared me. I just, I told my husband, I was like, I honestly don't think that I am a like mom's mom. I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't think this is like my path. And he said, okay, well, you got to finish the year because, okay, in my house, when you make a commitment, you follow through with your commitment. So I had to finish the year because that's just how we work. And so I was like, okay, we did like things together as like a group, but it still just wasn't like happening. And that happens, sometimes the energy is not right. It's cool, whatever. So I go to Jen at the end of this whole process and I'm like, hey, listen, here's the deal. I don't know if I want to keep doing this. And she's like, well, here's the thing. You can't quit. And I was like, okay. And she's like, please. And I'm like, okay. So we work. I got a whole nother table, another group. Actually, I'm still the same table 8. What? But I got another group of women. And that group, it was, can I tell you, like night and day. It was just like one of those things where I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, this group is like on point. Like I love this group. And we gelled with each other. They knew each other from before. So it worked out really well. Well, we had a few people that like left the group just because like, life happens, time happens, people moved. And so we were just kind of like, it was kind of like, oh man, like that was working. And then like people had to leave the group. But there were a few of us that stuck around. So then the next year, so this is last year, I had some new people come in, and one of the people that came in, I've known her since college, and just we had like a whole new group of women. And so of course you understand that like the woman that I am who was nervous about, being like finding mommy friends. Now I'm on my like third, group of mommy friends. And I'm like, I really don't know if I should be here because I don't know if this is like working. But this last group that I have, been a part of it just clicked. And so much, in fact, that last year we requested that we all stay together this year at MOPS. And, it's, we like do things together. We go to wineries. We go over to each other's houses and eat food and drink coffee and enjoy each other's company. We go out to dinner and we do life together. We do mommy together. So I tell you that incredibly long story to tell you this. Making mommy friends can be really intimidating, and it can be really hard to put yourself out there, to put yourself out in front of people when you don't know exactly how they're going to receive you. I remember I did a stint and I was in law school for for a year. And I remember one of the biggest things one of my professors told us was that never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. Well, when it comes to making mommy friends, you are asking a bunch of questions that you don't know the answer to. The main question being, do you want to be my friend? I'm a hot mess. I probably have puke on me somewhere. I probably don't smell that great. And I haven't washed my hair in 3 days, but I want to know if you want to be my friend. And that's really hard to put yourself out there like that. I'll tell you this, though, it's worth it. It may not work right away. It may not gel right away. The first time you put yourself out there, it may not happen. But when it does happen, when you finally find your crew, your tribe, it's like actually magical. Because you find a bunch of other women who are in the same walk of life as you. And listen, it doesn't have to be a lot of women. If you find a few good men, if you find a few good mamas, you're golden. People that you can, let your drawstrings loose with. People that you can, go out and do life with, that you can complain about your kids with, that you can complain about your husband with. It's so worth it. I mean, the process was a hot mess, how I got here today, but it was so worth it. And listen, my son is going into kindergarten next year, and MOPS, like I said, it's mothers of preschoolers. It is not a group for mothers who are not mothers of preschoolers. So this is my last year of MOPS. I'm done in May. And I'm kind of upset because this is the group that introduced me to the amazing women that I'm friends with, that I can count on to lift me up. They're the first ones being positive when something goes wrong. They're the first people that I can ask to pray for me when something is going wrong. You need those people. You need those women. And I know that being a mama can be daunting. It can be scary. But if you have people in your corner that are really there because they care about you and they want you to feel good, they want you to be happy, they want you to be the best mom that you can be, and they need help too. Listen, it's not just, it's not just all receiving. I give because I'm the old one now. I'm the mama that's been through the preschooler time, so I can give tips. I've raised a pretty decent preschooler. I mean, he's okay. He's a hot mess like they can be, but I mean, he's a good kid. So now I can give advice. I can be on the other side of it. I can give baby advice. My sister-in-law, she just had a little girl. Well, not just had, because she's a year old now. I mean, in time, but there were so many things that she said, why didn't you tell me that this was going to happen? And I was like, girlfriend, I did, but you're just not trying to hear it when you're, especially the first one. You're not trying to hear it, the first baby, but you know what I mean. And so, I understand it's hard to reach out across, the great expanse of life to find women. But there are places that you can look. MOPS is a great, great jumping off point. Join a Bible study. Join, they have women's groups. Go on Facebook. If you honestly just don't want to talk to anybody like face to face, totally get it. There are tons of mommy groups. And what I'll do is I'll try to find some of the ones that I really like, and I'll post links to them on my website. Put yourself out there. It's worth it. Now, like I said, you might find somebody who's crazy, and that happens. What are you going to do? But when you find your tribe, when you find your crew, it's so rewarding. It's so good. It's so good. I hope that this helps you. I hope this kind of, hearing my story of mommy friendship foolishness, kind of puts you at ease, and you realize that, hey, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be, but you got to put yourself out there. That's the truth. You got to put yourself out there, even if you don't want to. It is good. It is good. All right, guys, I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you are going to feel more comfortable making mommy friends, because they are the best. All right, bye. Thank you so much for listening. For more information on this and other episodes of Taking Back You, visit takingbackyou.com. And be sure to subscribe and share with your friends.